Hello, hello, and happy New Year. Here we are in 2024, and I look forward to going on a bit of an adventure with you for the next year or more as to the lunations and whatever else is going to show up for us along the way. Being a Gemini, I have no doubt that there'll be lots of things that I will want to look at. But this is all about the new moon in Capricorn on the 11th of January 2024. And for this forecast, please remember that I've set the chart to where I live in South Africa. And so where the various signs are falling, like here we have Taurus on the ascendant, that won't be the case for you, more than likely, depending where you live. So don't worry so much about where you see these things in this forecasted chart, unless if you would like to do that, you can, if you have the ability to go and do that yourself, you can absolutely do that. But if you're just getting started, it's always better to meet yourself where you're at and don't overcomplicate things, because astrology can get really complicated really, really quickly. So more importantly, if you have your own birth chart, you're going to go and look at where these things fall in your chart. For example, this is the new moon in Capricorn at 20 degrees. You can see here, it's actually almost 21 degrees, 20 degrees and 44 minutes of Capricorn. So you would want to go look where that is in your chart. And let's say you have nothing in Capricorn at all, you could still look to the other cardinal signs, which will be 90 degrees from that. So there will be the opposition of Cancer, where we had our last full moon, and you would also look at Aries and Libra. Those are the cardinal signs. So those will be the points at which, if you have anything around the 20-degree mark, you can look from 15 to 25 even of those cardinal signs, then you know that there is going to be something transformative happening for you. It might be a bit uncomfortable, but it's ultimately for your own growth. So that's kind of how you can apply this more personally to yourself, because this is a general reading. It's looking at the energy of this particular lunation. In this case, it's a new moon. A new moon is always a time to plant a seed, a new beginning. So I took a bit of a social media sabbatical, and I've come back at this Capricorn new moon because Capricorn is really a building energy, and it feels like a really good idea for us to get back on the build at this new moon point. So time to build our new foundations, shore up our old foundations, write our to-do lists, check in. This is not astrologically, this is not the beginning of a year. The beginning of the astrological year is in Aries, which is also a cardinal sign like Capricorn, which means that it is in a season's time. In 3 months' time, we actually enter into the astrological new year point. So it's always good to set intentions every single new moon. And obviously from the calendar that we all follow of January 1st being the beginning of a new year, it's also always going to be another big point at which New Year's resolutions, which are not my favorites, but those are the kinds of things that we set whenever we enter into a new season, a new cycle, a new whatever it is. As long as it's aligned with you and your ethos, you can't really go wrong. You can make each day a new beginning, so just trust how you feel about it. But Capricorn, and the new moon, particularly in Capricorn, is such a good leaping off point, I believe, because Capricorn is the goat, and the goat can climb that mountain, a path that nobody else can see or that looks absolutely impossible. Capricorn's going to be able to make that climb and make that leap where necessary. There's a deep sort of structured nature. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. So Saturn becomes really important in this moon, and I'm going to look at that in a moment. But when we're setting intentions at new moon, if we understand the archetype of the new moon, in this case Capricorn, then we can realize, well, what is it in my life that relates to structure, grit, determination, courage, leadership, all those Capricornic traits? What is it in my life that I want to build upon those things? So this wouldn't be the sign, a new moon sign, where we would want to say, I want to focus in on my intuition. We might wait a couple of months till the new moon in Pisces, for example. If we work in in kind of order with the cycles, if we go with them, every time we get to that point of the year, new moon in Capricorn, we're going to look at these new moon in Capricorn type of intentions. And when we go through all 12 of the archetypes, we will find that we have checked all different aspects of self, because we can all look at where we need more structure, order, organization, leadership in our lives, just as we can all look at Piscean traits that I just mentioned, or Aries traits that we mentioned earlier. There will be a space for each of those things in each of all of us, whether you are a Capricorn, whether you have one planet in Capricorn, whether you have no planets in Capricorn. It doesn't really matter. This is archetypal. There is a space for that in your life. Okay, so coming back to the chart, just going to blow it up a little for us. Okay, here's the new moon at 20 degrees of Capricorn. And it's also finding us with Pluto in the very last degrees. Within a few days, Pluto is going to step into Aquarius. This is a huge deal. Pluto spends 250 odd years doing a full revolution of the wheel. So most of us will never see Pluto. Well, none of us will ever see Pluto do a full revolution unless we start living to 250 odd years. So this is quite a profound step. You may remember, if you've been following astrology for a while, that Pluto did have a little sojourn for a few months last year in 2023 into Aquarius, which gave us a little bit of a taste and a flavor of where that's going to go. This is a new moon forecast, so I don't want to be too focused on Pluto here. Suffice to say, Pluto is going to spend the majority of this year in his new sign of Aquarius, tiptoe for a very brief period back into Capricorn late in the year, and then go back into Aquarius for good for the next 20 years. So he will be in this one archetype for 20 years. And he is at the very, very, very last eking out those details at the final degree of Capricorn, where he has spent the last 15 years. So this is a very powerful position when a planet is right at the end of a sign. It's a very strong planet. So Pluto is at a very, very powerful, and one of Pluto's keywords is power. And he's at a very, very powerful point of Capricorn as we hit this new moon in Capricorn. So it's going to potentize our ability to harness all things Capricorn and to really transform, transmute, build upon new healthy foundations. Should we choose to. We also have, and this for me is very, very exciting, Mars, who loves to be in Capricorn. It's one of his favorite places to be. He's very efficient in Capricorn. Mars is often looked at as a less than favorable planet. He's called a malefic. And that is because he can get a little hot-headed and a little aggressive at times. But in Capricorn, he has this goat-like focus and structure. He's being held in that Capricorn energy so that he can move with his extreme determination and courage and warrior-like energy. He can move up the mountain. So this is actually a very strong place to have Capricorn. If you have it in your own chart, to have Mars. If you have it in your own chart, that's a super great place to have your Mars. And here he is during this moon. Not only that, he's at 5 degrees of Capricorn. And if you dance across at 120-degree angle here to 5 degrees of Taurus, you find Jupiter, who is the greater benefic planet. He is the one that brings benevolence and luck and optimism, joy. He is the kind of energy that says, take a chance, and especially in an earth sign, Taurus, take a calculated risk. Between Capricorn and Taurus, these are both earth signs. Mars in Capricorn, Jupiter in Taurus, they're in this very grounded, structured, let's build upon, let's manifest kind of energies. So we've got this kind of workhorse energy of Mars, who doesn't have an off switch. He's just go, 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 go in Capricorn. And we have Jupiter in Taurus, which is also one of our money signs, actually, saying build the business, build it and they will come, kind of thing. And then Saturn, remember I mentioned that Saturn is the planet that rules Capricorn. Saturn is in sextile to both of these planets at 4 degrees of Pisces. So you can see it forms this cute little triangle here. We have 120-degree trine, and then it's 60 degrees to Saturn from Jupiter and 60 degrees to Saturn from Mars. So they are forming this really, really beautiful, dynamic, optimistic, positive energy. Capricorn, Saturn in Pisces is a real visionary for the future in many ways. In a very intuitive way, there is a deep desire to build something that is more sustainable, that is more heart focused, like really cares about the rest of the world on an emotional level, that is very sensitive and sentient. And then we have the Earth. So that's the structural planet of Capricorn in a water sign, which is a little tricky for Capricorn, just because Capricorn, you know, water moves. You freeze it, but then you hold it and it melts, or it's steam and you can't reach it, or it's water and it's waves or swirls or waterfalls. And Capricorn's constantly trying to contain. But if you think about how Earth holds water, you think about the riverbanks holding the river. You think about an earthen jug holding the water. They work actually quite well together, these two elements. They are both yin, or more feminine in quality, and that's not to do with gender. So we have this beautiful holding space of water and earth between these particular planets, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. And this is really enhancing our ability to all those things that we spoke into of Capricorn and the new moon in Capricorn and setting intentions and the potentizing of Pluto with this beautiful energy of the earthy trine held with the structure of that, the ruler of this lunation, Saturn, held in this sensitive place. So Saturn is often looked at as being quite strict and stern. He's also a malefic. He's the greater malefic. But in this case, because he's in a softening kind of energy, and maybe that's uncomfortable, it's like having those uncomfortable conversations or feeling the feelings you usually would avoid. Saturn is now in a sign where he cannot easily avoid the feelings, because Pisces is literally like the ocean of emotion. So Saturn is in this real emotional space. And so he's very happy to have the support of Capricorn Mars and Taurus Jupiter to give him a little space. It's like they are embracing him while he goes through these emotions. And as he clears out the emotions that have been locked in and frozen, because Saturn has a constricting and a cold kind of energy. The way we would see that in our body is contracted muscles or constricted arteries of the heart, or anywhere maybe clenching of our teeth. Saturn rules bones and teeth and skin. So anywhere where there is a tightening, a contracting, or cold related things. So like bad circulation, where there is cold stuff, cold and contracting and constricting energies show up in our body. Those are quite Saturnian. So Saturn is having to go into the emotions. And if you think about where he may have frozen or locked in those things in your body, now he has to feel them. And as he feels them, he is going to be able to heal them. And then there is this very strong manifesting energy of the Jupiter and the Mars point. Okay, I hope that paused because my dog was barking. The other thing that is also very important to mention, and I think I want to say that's the last thing, and then I see something else I want to mention. It's typical Gemini. For example, this is not the thing I was about to mention, but I'm just going to jump here quickly. Mercury, who is still just through that shadow period, still experiencing the shadow of his retrograde, is forming a square to Neptune in Pisces. So a lot of our reflections where we may have been in situations over the last few weeks, even just over a month with the pre-shade, we may be experiencing moments of reflection of what triggered us, what what really worked for us over the last, as I say, let's call it 3 to 6 weeks. What really has triggered me, what has made me think about life differently, what has made me realize and recognize how I have been thinking about life that may not actually be correct. Like, where is truth dropping intensely? Where is this kind of like illusion, the happily ever after fantasy that you've experienced in various different ways in your life, where you believed like this is the ideal family dynamic, family Christmas, family holiday, this is the ideal type of parents to have, this is the ideal kind of marriage to have. Where have those things been kind of getting a little uncomfortable? Because at this new moon, it's very much with the fact that it's a Capricorn structured new moon, it's giving us the opportunity to go, that does not actually work for me anymore. That is not true for me anymore, whether it ever was. How do I recalibrate? How do I rebuild? How do I change my ideals if I realize that my ideals were built upon something that actually no longer resonates? So that's tricky. That's subtle and nuanced, and you may have a couple of really obvious themes, but as you watch yourself, you might realize there's a lot of undercurrents as well, and lesser themes that you didn't notice that might come up for you. This is a good opportunity to really focus on what is the next right step for me in readjusting some of my beliefs if they aren't fitting me anymore. Maybe I don't believe that anymore. Maybe I only had that belief system because I grew up in a family with that belief system, and I always felt like the outsider, the black sheep, and now I realize maybe I'm just different. These are beautiful spaces for us to get a little uncomfortable and unpack this stuff. Okay, and now the thing I did mean to mention, which is the fact that this new moon at 20 degrees of Capricorn is trining Uranus at 19 degrees of Taurus. So again, it's a trine, 120 degrees, so it has a similar energetic frequency to the Mars-Jupiter energy. But here we have the new moon, sun and moon, the ultimate in grandparent energies in the setting of intention space of Capricorn, but also looking at Uranus, who's a bit of an earthquake shaker, a mover and a shaker in Taurus. He's been there a while. We've been experiencing this energy for some years now. He's there at 19 degrees of Taurus saying, how can I shake up your foundations? Because you didn't even know you had a fault line there. And so I want to shake something up for you so you realize that there are places where you can just patch the cracks. And there are places where you actually need to go back down to the roots, to the foundations, to do the work. So that too, even though it is 120 degrees, it's a trine, it's a nice energy for the most part. Sometimes that doesn't always show up straight away, just like we can feel very uncomfortable in squares and oppositions. And then in retrospect, we might say, wow, but that was actually a turning point for me. It's more often the other way around, where we don't even notice in a trine that something happened because it was so easy and graceful. But there might still be something uncomfortable in that, because Uranus is kind of, he's not about comfort in himself. So even though he has a trine to this new moon, he's not about comfort. He's about revolution and change. He's about pointing out the thing that you've been avoiding looking at. But the nice thing about Capricorn is not afraid of hard work. Capricorn is not afraid to go, show me the problems and let me climb that mountain. Let me find a way to fix it. So because it's a graceful angle between the two of them, we feel Capricorn energy a little bit more willing to look at what's not working in Uranus, to let Uranus reveal some kind of truth that was buried beneath the skeletons in the foundations. Let them out and let's rebuild. So that, oh my goodness. And there is one more thing I have to mention, quick sticks, sorry, before this gets way too long, but Chiron is at 15 degrees of Aries, and it's trine to Venus at 15 degrees of Sag. So again, that's another trine energy. Okay, so trine energies are beautiful. Trine energies are graceful. Trine energies are supportive. So we can see that Venus, who is all about love, who is all about our values, which we already talked about how we might be having some, maybe that I don't value that anymore. Maybe that's not an ideal for me. Maybe that's no longer my belief system, which also links to Jupiter, who we've spoken into, and Venus, who we're speaking into now. She is going to the wounded part of you, and she's stroking your face and saying, I know that's hard. I know that looking at some of these things that you've been avoiding for your whole life are really uncomfortable things to do, but it's going to benefit you in the long run. It's going to benefit you. It's going to benefit your parents and their parents and their parents, 7 generations behind you, your children and their children's children, 7 generations ahead of you. And it's going to settle your soul. But you have to, it's in fire, Venus in a fire sign and Chiron in a fire sign. It's in fire, so you have to steel yourself for that. You have to ignite your fire. You have to prepare yourself to have the fiery courage to burn through some of the blockages, burn through the things you've put, the blinkers you've put in your path, so that you can just stay believing what your parents believed, and they believed it because their parents did, and they believed it because for hundreds of years society said that that was the way. This is a space where you start to shift that. This is a space where you start to get a lot more autonomous. Fire is also very autonomous, a lot more autonomous. What do I believe? What do I feel in my heart, in my soul? What truth burns within me? That is my truth, and it doesn't have to be your truth, and that can be okay. What burns within me that makes me want to say to my family, I love you, but I believe something different, or I feel something different to be true. I want my kind of job to be different from mainstream, and that's okay. Or I want the kind of relationship I'm in to look differently to how you might have wanted me to have a relationship. That's where we get to recalibrate. And I just find this quite exciting. Doesn't always have to feel comfortable in the moment, but if we look at it all as an adventure, as a journey, as an exploration, and we know that there are going to be nuggets of absolute magic along the way. So I hope that has been helpful for you. I will share my links in the comments below. I really appreciate all the likes, shares, support in any way, shape, or form is very helpful for me to continue to do this. And I really look forward to a big growth for all of us in 2024. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you at the next full moon, which will be in, next new moon's in Aquarius. Next full moon will be in Leo in 2 weeks from, it's always 2 weeks between a full moon and a new moon. So 2 weeks from the 11th, we will have Leo full moon. Thank you for watching and have a beautiful day.